need a less dangerous assignment.
So guys, welcome back to Remove Before Race, and welcome back to the Death Star. I bet you didn't know that the Death Star was actually a Mercedes thing, hence why it's called the Death Star. Right next to me is the brand new generation of Mercedes E-Class. W214, all covered up. You can see some interesting highlights already. Let's pull off the covers straight away and show you the massive changes, both outside and in. Right, here we go. Like I said, big surprises, big changes underneath here. Let me give you a little sneak peek of the biggest one that we've all heard the rumors about, which is the grille. Now let's pull off the rest. No more teasing. I need to show you this. Here is your brand new E-Class W214 generation. That's a big change. And you can already see they're kind of trying to link this car to their newer electric cars and the future and all this kind of thing. And what a car to do it. Basically their most popular, highest selling car, which is the E-Class, certainly over history. Let's have a quick look around before I give you the details. That firstly, you know, the front grille with this, the black panel element. This is of course your AMG line, and you can tell that with the sportiness of the lower bumper, etc. You got your typical E-Class style lights as well. Big power domes. We've got bigger arches than the last generation, and basically the same size of car, so it looks a bit more muscular. Big changes on the rear as well. That is stunning. That really blew me away the first time I saw it. You've actually got the Mercedes-Benz stars within these rear lights, which have grown in size and linked, again, just like the electric cars. So linking through here with this red plastic, immediately recognizable as a Mercedes-Benz saloon, but so different as well. What do we think of it? I don't know. For me, I've only just seen it, too early to digest. And in fact, I've got one other to show you. So I'm going to show you later in the video, which is another style that you can get. A bit more classic, as you might be able to tell. So wait for that later in the review. So already you can see massive changes on the outside, big risk taken, but maybe even bigger risk taken on the inside of this car, which again, trying to merge the traditional with the modern digital world. But this is a big gamble to take on what is basically one of their most important cars. I mean, they have sold over 16 million of these mid-sized luxury sedans over the years, which is an insane number. So we have to decide today, have they achieved the goal of bridging the old and the new properly enough to convince us, the fans and buyers of the Mercedes E-Class? Today, I'm going to fill you in on every single detail inside and out. We're going to talk about all the variants in terms of engines that are coming in. This is a totally hybrid generation, so we're going to have some very mild hybrid combustion cars that I'll tell you about, and the plug-in hybrids. And we will also talk a little bit about my predictions for the beefier AMG versions. So let's dive straight into it, my friends. The brand new E-Class W214. So guys, today's episode of RBR is sponsored by my favorite returning sponsor, Manscaped. The ones who save your balls, and your balls will thank you. I never get tired of saying that, and it's not just your balls that will thank you. They're releasing the Platinum Package 4.0, which includes a load of other products. For example, they've just launched this 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner and body wash. For men on the move like me, it cuts your time in the shower. It's all natural with hydrating ingredients. Absolutely fantastic, and frankly, the bottles look damn good as well. In addition to that, they've started the stick deodorant, which is aluminium free as well. Fantastic. Again, matching bottle. And of course, then their best-selling bathroom toolkit, which includes the awesome Lawnmower 4.0 with skin-safe technology and the LED light, which is so useful. And helping us groom doesn't just stop there. They've even got the Weed Whacker, the nose and ear trimmer as well. The package comes with even more stuff. We've got Crop Reviver, Crop Preserver, deodorant, which is great, and my favorite one that I've stolen and used in all of my press trips, the travel bag. So useful. They even give you some Manscaped briefs in there, and you can fit all your main items within the bag, which I just love. So of course, as RBR viewers, you get a discount. Use my code RBR on the Manscaped website and you will get 20% off. Free international shipping and 2 free gifts. So remember, that's the code RBR. Use it on Manscaped's website. Amazing deal for you guys. Always a bestseller with the RBR viewership. Huge thanks to Manscaped. Now back to the episode. Now, our E-Class. It is such an important car for so many people. It's a daily for some, it's a car of work and travel for others. For people like me, it scratches the performance itch. It wears a lot of hats for a lot of different people. And it's got a long storied history as well that Mercedes think links all the way back 95 years back to almost when the company was founded in 1928 with the Stuttgart 260, which was, you know, one of the first proper car looking cars. Then down to legends like the Ponton and the Fintail that even today we look at with lustful eyes as absolute perfection when it comes to luxury sedans, or really the best E-Class of all time, which is the W214, a car that I myself own as well, and it's a timeless, gorgeous vehicle. In the more modern era, from our W210 onwards, the car has been instantly recognizable thanks to a few character traits, particularly the double front lights that generation brought in, and then it flowed through all the other generations, and the way that this car kind of bridged the gap between C-Class and S-Class so perfectly in every single generation. This newer car seeks to do that same job of bridging the gap between those two cars, but it's been given a further job by Mercedes, which is to build a bridge between traditional combustion plug-in hybrids and their future cars, which are the EQ electric range. So they want to build a bridge between this and that. Today, let's actually discover if they have achieved these goals, both in terms of design, which I think is damn important for an E-Class, and in terms of the technologies that we're going to find on the inside. But let's come in closer now and have a look at every detail close up. Look at this thing, particularly that front end. I hate the EQ cars, I've told you that. And we all heard the rumors, we saw the leaked parts and all the rest of it about this EQ looking front grille. Honestly, seeing it in person, and I'm glad they didn't cop out by choosing a black car, which they could have done, so props to you, Mercedes, for not doing that. It doesn't look as bad as I thought it was going to look, okay? I still think it would look better if it was just body colored without that silly black panel thing, which is what this looks like now. I'd love to hear what you guys think. But this doesn't look awful, right? It certainly doesn't look EQ. If anything, I wouldn't mind if the EQ cars had this setup and our normal cars had a normal setup. That would be a great idea, but you know, nobody listens to me, but that's fine. So guys, design. By the way, this room is crazy. It's not actually the Death Star, or maybe it is, but what this is a antenna testing room or something of this description. So I'm going to show you what that thing is in a minute. It's quite interesting. Let's have a look at the design of our new E-Class, which is, we have to start at the front really, don't we? One thing I've not mentioned yet, and you've no doubt seen already, is the lighted grille, which comes standard across E-Class now. So there are essentially two optical strips that go around here that are then powered by LEDs in order to give you a lighted grille. These are not just for, you know, when you turn on the car, etc. These will actually run with your daytime running lights on the front. So that's going to be pretty impressive. Of course, you get digital light with projections, etc., which is actually an over-the-air update now. And then they will project the Mercedes-Benz logos and warning signs, etc., on the floor while you're driving. It's actually quite an impressive system. These lights, I like what they've done with this, you know. I like the fact that they've made this all E-Class unique. I like the little brows here. This is nice. This is nice. I just don't think that black panel element, personally, was necessary. I'm really interested in what you guys think of the grille. I know I keep hammering on about it, but I think that's the most crucial thing. What do we think about that? Because it is a massive grille, and it's actually quite upright if I show you this angle. The front is slightly bigger than predecessor, but we still got the same aerodynamic value of 2.3 CD, which is impressive. The size of the car has not actually changed that much. It's like 1.4 centimeters longer than 213, but the wheelbase is longer by about 2 centimeters. What that means is inside we get more space, which of course when we go in I will show you. The side of the car is quite muscular. You've got some really defined cuts on around our wheel arches here. I mean, these are sharp, but then they kind of taper away into nothingness and then re-emerge again on the other wheel arch, but it gives the car a really muscular look. And because the size of the car has not changed versus previous generation, what you have is bigger wheel arches versus the previous generation, but a car that's actually shorter. So what it gives you is a more muscular look than that previous gen. Wheels are nice, all aerodynamically optimized. Like I said, these are the 20 inches. You can get up W214, which undoubtedly will look really good. Really small side sills, like almost non-existent. And of course you get the flush door handles. I understood that you could actually get the normal door handles if you wanted them as well. There seems to be some confusion over that, which no doubt we will clarify in times to come. Finishing off the side then, that is very, very traditional Mercedes saloon, isn't it? I like the way that looks. But then you get distracted by what you see in the rear. Those lights, I love the Mercedes graphic in the back. How cool does that look? I thought this join light bar on the rear was going to look a bit pants, like the EQ cars, but that is really, really nice. And it's, you know, it's recognizable as a Mercedes immediately. I don't think it's too garish. That's my first impression of it. Love to know what you guys think. You've got the chrome strip, which is very S-Class, and indeed, you know, previous E-Class as well. What I hate is your typical... This I just wish they dealt with, you know, enough people have complained about it. Why? You know, it's... No, we don't want that. The rear to me really looks like it just could be an S-Class. Maybe they've gone a bit too luxury with it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I stand on this. I'd love to know what you guys think. But it is very, very luxurious looking. Now, as I said, this is a plug-in, so they've got your charging port here, which is nicely done. It's on the side of the car. As I always complain in other cars which have it back here on the rear bumper on Mercedes, that's just a bad idea, and that looks much better. Speaking of plug-in hybrids, I promised to show you the boot, which, as you can see, unlike previous generation, no step, nothing to discourage use of the boot or entry, etc. That's pretty big for a plug-in. On your normal combustion cars, you get 540 litres, which is a nice massive boot as well. So that's excellent. And of course, with these, you can split fold if you want to. So that's your AMG line. I promised to show you the other car covered up here, which Jamie is kindly going to unveil for you now. That's cool though. That is your much more traditional looking version. This sadly we don't get in the UK, but it's available in other parts of the world, in Europe, etc. And it's the more traditional style grille, but still with that black panel feature, which you can see here linking into your more traditional grille, the upright style that we love to see, and a completely different lower bumper setup. That so S-Class looking, isn't it? In a good way. And with the darker colour, I can see this car being quite popular. That's a good looking trim. I wish we got that in the UK. I think we are more appreciative of the star and the original grille than perhaps Mercedes might assume. Maybe I'm wrong, I could be wrong. But I love the look of that, and I love the star being on the bonnet. Now, E-Class of this generation, much like the C and the S, is based on that same platform, which allows for a greater level of hybridization, and one that's packaged much better than the previous generation. So every single E-Class now is in some way hybrid. Really, the mild hybrids, you can just call them combustion cars because they're so mild. All we've got is the integrated starter generator in between our gearbox and the engine, which gives a little boost of 17 kilowatts and 205 Newton meters. This helps a little bit day to day, but really it's a pure combustion car in reality, okay? Our pure combustion or the mild hybrids have three variants to begin with. We have the E200, the E200D, and a 4MATIC version of that E200D. They're all around about 0-60 of 7 seconds, undoubtedly being a mild hybrid diesel, the range is going to be absolutely ace. And then we have the much beefier plug-in hybrids, which are actually very, very impressive and packaged much better with a 25 kilowatt battery sitting in the back much lower down, so you don't lose out that much boot space, as I will show you later. That is then linked to a permanently synchronous electric motor, which gives a whopping 129 brake horsepower by itself and 440 Newton meters instantly accessible on top of what you get in the rest of the 4-cylinder engine. And again, we've got three variants here: E300, E300 4MATIC, and E400E 4MATIC as well. They range between 300 to about 380 brake horsepower across those models. There will also be, which is good news, a 6-cylinder range topper as a plug-in hybrid as well. And I'll talk a little bit about the AMGs later in this video. The more important thing about the plug-in hybrids is the amount of range that you get, which is going to make these pretty fantastic luxury daily drivers. You get up to 100 kilometers of range through the electric mode, and thanks to that battery. And that battery can be charged fully in just 30 minutes. So I can see this car being used a lot daily. Now, in terms of suspension, of course, revamped, all new in here. We've got a 4-link front suspension, 5-link rear suspension. Our non-plug-in cars come with steel agility suspension, as they call it, which has still got adjustable levels, you know, comfort, sport, etc. But it actually sits 15 millimeters lower than our plug-in cars. Our plug-in cars get airmatic suspension, and if you get the technology package, you get ADS Plus, which is continuous damping with air suspension, and you get rear wheel steer in that package of up to 4.5 degrees, which is going to be great for E-Class in terms of maneuverability around town and stability when going much faster. Now, let's move on to my favorite topic, which is AMG. Some new news compared to the last time we spoke about AMG. First of all, news that I've told you before, there's going to be something like an E53. We've seen part leaks and other bits and pieces and spy shots which suggest that it's going to look something like this, with a Panamericana grille sitting within that black panel, really nice large AMG wheels, round pipes at the back. Your typical fare, probably very similar in terms of body to this, so that's the design. But in terms of the power, while I have no confirmation, my theory is they're probably going to use a similar P3 hybrid setup like we had in the C63. So your AMG Performance battery, EDU unit in the back, and the 4-cylinder engine in the front. I don't know where they're going to position it in terms of power. It could be similar to the C-Class. You know, it could be close to 680 brake horsepower, or maybe they'll knock it down to give the C-Class a better position. Who knows? But that car is absolutely definitely coming. Before I told you that E63 was not going to happen, or it was unsure because they don't know which engines are going to happen, the current rumor mill suggests that AMG are developing a brand new 6-cylinder, one-man, one-engine unit to be their hero for cars like E-Class going forward. That would probably link a 6-cylinder to a similar P3 hybrid system, I would assume, to give more power than you'd get out of a C-Class type variant as we've seen. And I think all of us would be a little bit more happy with a 6-cylinder than we are with the 4-cylinder in the C63, which we all absolutely hate. Good luck selling that car. This is probably a long way away, might even be in the facelift, but it's my job to bring you all the news that I can. Now guys, let's jump inside. Huge changes inside, and it's actually, I was a big detractor of this when I saw the pictures, but you know what? It's pretty damn impressive in here. Well, big changes in here, isn't there? I mean, they released the interior photos early, which we all saw, and I did a little post on Instagram kind of digging into it, saying how I hate EQ and all the rest of it. But one thing I'm pleased to say, having sat in it, is unlike the EQ cars, where I've moaned and moaned about the whole hyperscreen just being too high, and this going too high, and this being too high, and just putting you off and making it seem all horrible. This car is not like that, even though it looks like that in photos, because this is not the same setup. So the E-Class doesn't get the hyperscreen, it gets the 3rd generation of Mercedes-Benz UX system, and this is called the Super Screen. Stick with me. There's a reason for this, okay? Now the Super Screen is called that because unlike the Hyperscreen, which is one big panel that goes all the way up to here and thus pushes all of this up and pushes your door card up, etc., this has got a dedicated driver's screen, which is smaller, and it looks, frankly, way more sportier because you've got this dedicated screen that is just for me, the driver. You know, it doesn't need a cloak around it. It just looks better. And what that allows is this whole dashboard area to sit lower, the door card to sit lower, and all of this looks so much more compact. It reminds me, if I can think of any other car, it reminds me of the EQXX, the way that had a nice kind of compact dashboard despite having big screens. And this is a lot better in that regard. So starting off as one of the big detractors of this interior, having sat in it physically, I'm happy to say it's not as horrific as I thought it was going to be. And an optional screen on this side, you don't need that screen. You can actually do away with that, and it gets replaced with the same trim that you have in the middle here, which I personally would go for because I think it would make this interior look even better. The door cards, again, much like C-Class and S-Class, with your floating islands and then the metal grab handles, etc. Same switchery. And your seats, again, very similar to those two cars, very thin, nicely upholstered, same type of aerodynamic look. There are sport seats available apparently as well, which only come in black. I haven't got those to show you today. Hopefully I can show you those in the future. Your rear, you've got even more room than you had in the past, with almost as much elbow room as S-Class, which is fantastic. The 2 centimeters extra wheelbase all going to your rear occupants. But I tell you what, sitting in this in the front, my general impression is that I'm sitting in a smaller car than the previous gen E-Class, which is nice because this feels like a more sporty car. I don't know how they managed to do that with all these screens and this perceived bulk, but I'm not feeling that perceived bulk, which is good. I'm really surprised. I didn't think I'd actually be saying any of this. Now I'm going to bring you into my first person view and try to show you what I mean by this look that I'm seeing here, and then we'll dive into some of the new changes that have come into this new MBUX, which are actually quite fantastic. So guys, hopefully you can see this. This is that cocoon I was talking about, which, you know, it looks quite compact. This all looks like this island area, which is highlighted by like the ambient lighting under there and around there. It looks good. It really does, and it's you know, like I was saying to you, it does not raise that high compared to like the EQ cars. It's all nice and compact. I love the vents. These vents, they are very clever. Okay, if we go into our climate menu here, and we turn on the car and we look at this digital vent control, I want you to keep your eye on this. All right, when I go to head, look, it shifts towards me. I do upper body, and it shifts towards me. But if you don't want to do that, you can also just manually move it and it won't harm the motors. So either you can do the digital way or you can do it manually, which I love. It's a really sophisticated system with lots of motors in it, and the way that the vents look, I love it. I think it's so well done, particularly if you look at here, little details like the way that matches the ambient light strip, which matches the amount of airflow you're getting here. That is so well done, and I couldn't really appreciate that in the release photos that they did. The other thing that you'll notice is that we have a camera right here. What is that for? That is for essentially zoom, and in addition to that, if I go into the other apps, camera, and there I am, hello. So either you have the ability to take selfies within the car, or for much more serious use, we can go and we can have Zoom calls while the car is stationary, which is actually pretty damn impressive. And this is all thanks to the fact that there is an MBUX API, which allows Android developers to create apps for MBUX 3, which includes stuff like Angry Birds and TikTok, which we're not going to go into TikTok, but I love Angry Birds. Never thought I would see the day that I'd be playing. Oh man, there's amateurs here. Come on, we got to get this right. Okay, here we go. Wish me luck. I'm doing this one-handed. Actually, everyone does Angry Birds one-handed. What am I talking about? Yes! There's an Angry Bird veteran for you. You're obviously not going to do that driving, but it's cool enough. It shows you the fact that you can get apps on here now compared to what we had before in the previous MBUX from S-Class and SL, etc., where you didn't have that. So yeah, 3 stars to you, Mercedes, for doing that. That is a good idea. Now, apart from that, the system has been upgraded where, for example, if we put the simplified view here, which I prefer, you can see that they made these icons a lot more obvious by using what they call smartphone type coloring. Because as I complained in the EQE SUV review, as you'll see soon, the previous MBUX was just too complicated, too much going on in hyperscreen, and you could not really perceive what you wanted to perceive in the screen here. It was information overload, like you have here, for example. But if you want the simplified view, you can go for it. Here we have suggestions, which are not always intelligent. So instead of that, you can create what are called routines, which is actually very, very clever. So if we're going to create routine here, you can do, for example, if it is below 10 degrees, I want the car to put on the seat heating and the heated steering wheel. And it's kind of like, you know, shortcuts in iPhone, etc. A bit of basic coding for the car to do things in the scenario that you want the car to do things. Again, very clever. I'm so happy about the driver zone here. We've got 2 views basically, which is classic and sport. So a bit reduced compared to before. Sport has everything go red here. I think I prefer the classic one, to be honest, which looks quite nice. And then you've got, you know, your full maps, your assistance, servicing, etc., as you're used to. And above that, you'll notice that we have our heads-up display, which again changes very easily based on what you're doing here, the design changes, etc. No augmented reality navigation though on this one, so it hasn't got that S-Class feature. But what it does have from S-Class is 3D screen. So this screen in front of me, it's like the old Nintendo 3DS style of 3D screen where those bobbles, etc. look 3D to me because we've got cameras behind there looking at my eyes, and they give that effect, which is, it's nice. I think it makes this look all a lot more analog than it actually is. The other thing I quite like about this interior is this central unit here, this central console, which I actually like the shape of it. I like the fact that the ambient lighting goes within it. They've binned off piano black as the standard trim. Thank God, we all hate it. And now they've gone for open pore wood as the basic one, or you can get stuff like this, which is, yeah, it's no better than piano black really. But yeah, open pore wood is the standard one, which I'm so happy about. And one other cool thing that they've done, which I thought was brilliant, you can now put a wire through this hole and it goes through there. How many of us put wires through here and then struggle? And just a simple thing like that, they've just added to our lives. So yeah, really happy about that small little addition. Another really clever thing is MBUX has been upgraded to listen to you all the time if you're sitting alone in the car. So for example, I can give it commands without saying, "Hey Mercedes," and it will listen to me. So I could say, like, you know, turn the ambient lighting to green, etc., etc. And all of that can be done while you're alone in the car, and it will action your command, which again, it's more usable. You can also have your passenger watch movies and television using the Zinc video streaming on here, and then as the driver, it will block it out if I look in that direction. So if we put on La La Land, bloody singing in La La Land at the moment, that will play as we're stationary, but if I'm looking at this while driving, it will basically turn it off. So yeah, good for your passenger. So overall, really like all of this. A lot better than I thought it would be. I like the structure, I like the fact it's sporty, I like the fact that it feels like a smaller car than it actually is. Of course, me being a button man, I would prefer more buttons. You know, I like the fact that we've got these analog looking startup buttons and your light switches over here. This is all nice. I would just prefer lots of buttons like our lovely 124 had, but that's not what they're going with these days, which is a shame. But as a digital kind of experience, this is upgraded MBUX to be a bit more simple, have better apps in it, have a dedicated driver zone, and a super screen that's not bulky like the hyper screen. So yeah, that gets a thumbs up from me for sure. So guys, that's your new generation of E-Class. Big changes that I'm actually surprised and happy about on the inside, that they're a lot better in person than I thought they would be. Even bigger changes potentially outside that I just don't know how I feel about it yet. Perhaps I need to see the AMGs to really make a final decision on it. And I keep saying this, but I'd love to hear from you guys because I really value your opinions. So let me know what you think. Hopefully you've enjoyed this episode of RBR. I need to find a way to escape the Death Star now, and I'll see you guys next time.